Welcome to this edition of the Raw Feed. I'm Gary Franchi, and today we're streaming live to millions worldwide on YouTube, Rumble, and X. What sets us apart from every other show out there? Well, we interact with you, the viewers, in the live chat and get your real-time reaction to the day's news. So while you're watching right now, share the stream via text message to bypass the algorithm. For our X viewers, repost the show to your followers. Let's break through the censorship together. Speaking of support, if you want to back the show privately, hit those donation links in the description. If you want to show off your favorite news source to the world, check out our merch shop, shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. We've got Alligator Alcatraz, President Otto Penn, and our American Badass series ready to ship. We'll be reading your super chats and Rumble rants between segments and featuring them on screen for the world to see. So send them in right now, even before we begin. We want to fill up the Alex Jones's right jar right now, and we want to hear what's on your mind about today's explosive topics. Now, today in history, July 10th, takes us back to 1973, when the Bahamas gained independence from their British rule after 325 years of colonial control. So why does it matter today? Because just like the Bahamans threw off their foreign masters, we're watching Americans finally throw off the deep state cabal that's been running our country from the shadow. The puppet strings are being cut, the truth is emerging, and the colonial rule of intelligence agencies over our republic is ending. Today, we're exposing 5 bombshell stories that connect this historic parallel. First, the Jeffrey Epstein CIA connection has officially been confirmed. He wasn't just a predator, he was an intelligence asset running a blackmail operation at the highest levels of government. And Judicial Watch has dropped a bombshell. Yes, the list, the very list that we have been waiting for, may actually see the light of day. The list they said didn't exist. Second, we mark the anniversary of the Butler assassination attempt, while James Comey and John Brennan face investigation for their coup attempt against President Trump. Third, Biden's personal physician pleaded the Fifth rather than testify about the president's cognitive decline. Yes, we talked about it yesterday, but now it is developing and we have the video. It is astonishing. Fourth, weather manipulation. It's not a conspiracy theory anymore, as Trump's EPA promises to expose everything about cloud seeding after Texas floods killed dozens. And fifth, California facing a $45 billion lawsuit for destroying women's sports with their woke agenda. Now, remember, you need to follow us on Rumble and X right now if you haven't already. They can't silence us on every platform. This is information warfare, and we need you in the fight. And if you want exclusive access to the Next News team, we'll join our YouTube channel memberships and get special acknowledgement in the chat room, behind-the-scenes uploads, and access to our exclusive Discord members-only 24/7 chat. Each membership level comes with its own perks. Pick the one that works for you and become part of the inner circle. The establishment media won't touch these stories. They won't tell you that Epstein's victims filed a 225 compensation claims while the FBI holds its little black book. They won't report that 6 Secret Service agents were suspended for the Butler failure, while bigger questions remain unanswered. They won't mention that California is about to lose billions in federal funding for violating Title IX, and they definitely won't tell you that weather modification programs are real and may be connected to those deadly floods. But we will, because you deserve the truth, not their manufactured narrative. So buckle up, share the stream. Let's expose what they have been hiding. The revolution will not be televised, but it will be live streamed right here on the Raw Feed. Let's get into it and welcome you to the show. We are early today because I have to go and attend an event with the governor of Arkansas, the former press secretary for President Trump, Sarah Sanders. I'm looking forward to that. So we are on a tear. We got to be out hard in a couple hours. So let's get the show on the road. But who's here today? Sabrina, John Porton, Adam, Truth Seeker, Inhuman Condition, Nancy Dunks, Cindy Myers, Truth Seeker, Bella Blue, Karen Finley, 10% for the big guy. I love it. John Piker's here. Who else is in the house? The gang is all here. And Eva's here, Eva Williamson. The Rumble bot, as always, never misses a show. Who else is in the house? Drop your name, drop a chat. Let's get you recognized while you are here because we have to get to the news. It's hot and fast. William is here. Dwayne is here. King's Blade, Avalex LLC is here as well. What else is going on? Okay, well, let's just move right ahead then. We've got our multiple choice question. Weigh in the poll or in the comments or in the chat room. Which year did the Evening Standard first report that Jeffrey Epstein claimed to work for the CIA? Yeah, he claimed it, and it was reported. It was A, 1999, B, 2001, C, 2003, or D, 2008. Well, you can answer in the chat, poll, or the comments, and you will find out this answer in this next segment. We're continuing to track the Epstein list, or the list they told us that didn't exist. You remember they told us he was a lone wolf? Let me start over, Brian. I got to get this thing right. Sorry, guys. Take two. All right. We're continuing our coverage of the Jeffrey Epstein list. The one they told us didn't exist. Well, remember they also told us he was a lone wolf predator? They lied. New evidence confirms what we suspected all along. Epstein was running a massive intelligence operation. Documents from 2001 show him claiming CIA connections before any criminal charges. The FBI cut a deal with him in 2008. Photos show him with Maxwell in the White House and at the United Nations. Over 1,000 victims, yet no client list? Well, his number two, Sarah Kellen, walks free after allegedly grooming countless girls. The surveillance cameras in every room, they weren't for security, they were for blackmail. And now they want us to believe he trafficked children to himself? The truth is darker than you imagine. So stay tuned. We're going to break it all down the latest. Now, you probably think your 401k is safe, but it wasn't designed to make you wealthy. It was built to shift retirement costs and risk onto you, leaving your savings exposed to crashes, inflation, and chaos. But Americans are waking up and taking control with real assets like gold. Noble Gold Investments has helped thousands secure their future by converting part of their 401k into a tax-advantaged gold IRA without penalties or headaches. It's safe, it's simple, and smart. Visit nextnewsgold.com to get your free wealth protection kit and discover how to safeguard your savings. That's nextnewsgold.com. Your exit from the danger zone, and the number on the screen, 877-646-5347. Give them a call. When you talk to Kellen, tell him Gary Franchi said hello. Okay, so we got some big breaking news. This is just in. Look at this headline. Judicial Watch, Justice Department reports to court. It is reviewing the FBI DOJ Epstein records for possible release. The Epstein records for possible release. This is huge. Everyone's reporting it. DOJ reports the court is still reviewing Epstein records for possible release. Judicial Watch reveals. We have the video from Tom Fitton here. Here we have more from the DOJ, Eric Doherty reporting. DOJ reported to court it's still reviewing the Epstein records. Our FOIA lawsuit for the Epstein material continues. It continues. We will be relentless in demanding transparency under the law. Everyone is covering it. Let's go and see exactly what Tom Fitton, man, he's a beast. Look at this guy. He's a beast. He's not going to let anything get past him. Let's hear what he's saying right now. This is an official report from Tom Fitton on this.
So Judicial Watch just sued for the Epstein files. We want the client lists. We want the documents the Justice Department and the FBI have about this scandal. We've been getting stonewalling, so despite the release of some records, it looks like other records haven't been released yet. Indeed, they haven't responded to our basic FOIA requests for this information. That's why we're in federal court now. The best way to understand what records are available, which records are being held secret, and where did they look for the records is to be in court. And that's where Judicial Watch is, and that's what we specialize in doing. Getting secrets from the government they don't want you to know about. And people want to know about the Epstein scandal, and we aim to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, baby. Let's go, Judicial Watch on the case. Okay, there's a lot more to break down here. Check this out. This was from Sean Spicer. Remember, he was the former press secretary. He was the first press secretary for Donald Trump. He's got a show now. And he had Alan Dershowitz, who was actually Jeffrey Epstein's lawyer. He had him on the show. And Sean Spicer says that Dershowitz said he saw the entire Epstein list while proving his innocence. Let's listen to what Epstein's lawyer had to say.
Why the being... This is not an opinion. This is a fact. I have seen, remember, I was accused falsely on the Epstein, and ultimately I was completely cleared. The woman admitted that she may have mistook me for somebody else and withdrew all of her lawsuits. And so from day one, from the day I was accused, I said I want every document out because I knew every document would prove I was innocent. So let me tell you, I know for a fact documents are being suppressed. and they're being suppressed to protect individuals. I know the names of the individuals. I know why they're being suppressed. I know who's suppressing them, but I'm bound by confidentiality from a judge and cases, and I can't disclose what I know. But I hand to God, I know the names of people whose files are being suppressed in order to protect them, and that's wrong.
Just out of curiosity, without names, are these politicians, business leaders, both?
They're everything. And let me tell you, a lot of them are, at least one of them is somebody who was accused. Others are accusers. And the judges have said, if somebody calls themselves a victim, we're not going to give any information about them, but they may not be victims. They may be perpetrators. So we don't have information about false accusers. And we know there have been many false accusers who have accused innocent people for money. And those records are being deliberately, willfully suppressed. And they shouldn't be suppressed. If the accusation is allowed out, so should the material that diminishes the credibility of the accuser. We want total transparency on this. Every single document, no redaction. That's what I've said from day one. I waive any of my rights of privacy. Anything there is about me, wow, I'm happy because it will be exculpatory, because I know I haven't touched a woman other than my wife from the day I met Jeffrey Epstein. I don't even hug people, but I was falsely accused and I was able to prove it. And I was able to prove it through documents. And I want other people to be able to disprove false accusations through documents, but these documents are being suppressed and withheld. This is not an opinion.
Oh, baby, that is a nuclear bomb. And of course, with Judicial Watch on the case, it's a double whammy. Continuing with our coverage here. Now, this was, of course, a couple days ago. The 10 hours of footage, 11 hours of footage that was released by the Department of Justice on the day that Epstein didn't do anything to himself. Now, this is a great thread, and I want to just kind of go through it real quick, because this gives you a real good diagram. We covered this the other day when Glenn Beck was discussing it, but I want to just kind of revisit this so we have an understanding visually of what's happening here. You could see the red box, Epstein's cell, and you can see that hallway in yellow right out in front of it. Now, if you stand in front of the cell blocks, they state here, the gate entrance, you see both secure doors to the cells on both sides and one utility between pairs of them. The rationale of those non-secure door between cells have easy access to maintenance and plumbing and electrical. So you can see that's the white box on the right is the utility crawl space door. Now, I'm not sure if there's access on the other side to someone else. It'd be a serious security lapse if there was something there, but it would also provide a point of entry that the cameras would have never caught the individual going into the cell. Now, here is more. They state here that this is Jesus Enrique Rosas. For further clarity, this is the view from the observation door of the SHU floor. Now, remember, there was a stairwell. You can see the little box up in the upper right. It's the L tier. Well, that's where that camera was positioned. Okay, this is the stairway leading to it. Now, in the picture, the L tier upper deck cell block where Epstein's 220 cell was, and you notice immediately after the staircase, there's a gate access to a mini hallway we saw in the previous photo. Okay, so take a look. You can see the gate access to another mini hallway. So each one of these cell blocks had a mini hallway, and then you can see that the one hallway had the access maintenance door. The fact that the officer station had a unique angle. In fact, the officer station had a unique angle of Epstein's cell. Take a look at a screenshot that the DOJ shared. Okay, you can see the circle right there. That is where Epstein's cell door was. Now, moving right along, you notice that whatever this is not the cell block, and those are not cell doors. In fact, 10 minutes into the video, a person comes out of one of those doors with a trash bin and places it in the middle. It's not a cell block. That is a access door to the wing. The space that we're looking at is the common space near the elevators, staircases. Now, he says he marked it himself. And the diagram below, the red dot is the position of the camera from which the video was released. Okay, and there is, you see door 46 right there, and the red dot, and you can see where door 46 goes in. So if you go once more to the DOJ footage, you can see the officer station is on the far end. So right there, clearly in view of the camera, there is the officer's station. You keep going. The only thing we can remotely see is the direction of Epstein's cell blocks, a sliver of the staircase. Anyone could have gone up and down that staircase without being seen by the camera. Now, they state here how important it is. Gate 46 is the only way to go in or out of the SHU cell block 4. And there's 11 hours of footage throughout the night. So that must prove that nobody entered the SHU floor, right? So here's the question. It's obvious. He states, how do we know that something didn't happen before that the DOJ video started? By all measures, you couldn't have stayed in Epstein's cell block area without being seen by the camera. The far end didn't work. So what could have stopped anyone from hiding in the utility crawl space, right? Anyone could have been in there laying in wait for the perfect moment. Is that utility crawl space 100% sneak proof by other means? Because he says, I can imagine that would also be used for maintenance to the ventilation system. So these are some very serious questions. And of course, also the big question, what happened in that 1 minute of footage? Now, Pam Bondi claims it's just part of the reset of the day. Now, let's continue here. This was Tim Cass just a couple days ago talking with Mike Cernovich, talking about what Kash Patel and Dan Bongino and Pam Bondi. He writes, absolutely right. Kash, Dan, and Pam are being discredited. Well, Jesus begs to differ. They are being, they've discredited themselves.
Kash and Dan are being largely discredited as well as Pam Bondi. So I have no idea what this is or what's really going on. I think the best estimate is, I think Cernovich was saying this. What do you think they were doing the past several years? The reason there's no evidence is not that Pam and Kash and Dan are covering it up. It's that the Democrats covered it up a long time ago.
Okay, but what about the campaign promise? What about the campaign promise that Donald Trump gave us, that the files would be released? And here we have Green Lives Matter posting this, Pam Bondi changing the story. Listen to this.
And there are tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child porn. And there are hundreds of victims. And no one victim will ever get released. It's just the volume. That's what they're going through. Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein. There are tens of...
Now, what he points out here in this clip and why it's important, why we're bringing it up, is that before it was videos of Epstein with, and now it's just videos that he had downloaded. There's the question, of course, here. Never forget, and why are you still asking questions? Yeah, that picture speaks volumes. Now, let's go back to 2004. Donald Trump Jr.
Right? I'm fine with all the other lists. As long as I'm not on the Epstein list, we're good, right? Speaking of which, how is it that my father can be convicted of 34 crimes, but no one on Epstein's list has even been brought to light? I'm trying to figure out how that's possible, right, folks? It's almost like they're trying to protect those pedophiles for some reason. I can't imagine why, right? I'm fine with all the...
Don Jr., 2004. Now, check this out. This is really cool. Body language analysis of Trump and Bondi. This is the video where Trump got all twisted because the question was being raised. He said, why are we still talking about this? Okay. Now, this body language analysis brings up, why is Pam Bondi smiling? Bondi's quick reaction. Let's listen.
So we need to get started, and well, this was quite a shock when I saw that on my X account, thanks to GatorGar, and it started like this. It started with a bang.
On the night of the step.
Yes. Could I just interrupt for 1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
So the first impulse was saying, what is the problem to ask a question about Jeffrey Epstein if it's so hot right now that they finally released the clean-up video of Epstein's cell block. But there's one thing that I noticed just before Trump reacted. But because...
See, that was the first thing I saw. Trump jumping in and deflecting the question. And I really hope that And it's very possible, what I brought up at the beginning with what Judicial Watch is doing, that all the blowback that's happening right now, because everybody is seeing that Bondi, Patel, Bongino, everyone dropped the ball. Donald Trump made the promise on the campaign trail. Here he is going, why are we still talking about it? Well, because it was a campaign promise. Okay? But there may be, because of all the blowback, that what Judicial Watch is doing is going to allow them to save face. Think about that. Because everyone's been screaming, you guys lied to us, you didn't give it to us, how can there be no list? But Judicial Watch goes in, and all of a sudden, oh, wait a second, DOJ changes their mind. Here you go. Dershowitz, Epstein's own lawyer, with Sean Spicer, saying, let it go. He says, I don't care. He relinquishes his rights so that the list can go out. You see what's starting to happen here? Okay, I'm sorry, I digress. Let's continue.
And Trump asked the question, can I just answer this? Because they asked the question for Pam Bondi, and Trump, oh, I want to answer for you, right? Trump wanted to intervene. But notice what happens. Let's see if you can spot that here in it.
On the night of his death.
Yes. Could I just interrupt for 1 second?
Notice that he says, can I just, I'm going to put this in slow motion. Can I just interrupt for a second? And she says, sure, like it's not immediate. It's like even before he stopped talking. Like usually, I talk about time of reaction or reaction times when something happens and the person or somebody reacts. Somebody asks a questions and somebody answers. There's always that time of reaction. We need some time, like a split second, a fraction of a second to react. The fact that she answered even before he finished his question, can I interrupt for a second? This tells me that they had already, arranged this before getting seated. If they ask you about the Epstein files, I'm going to interrupt you, right? I'm going to tell you this and you just say sure. And that's what she did, but she rushed it. I'm going to play it again so you notice. Nobody can react and answer to something even before the other person stops talking.
On the night of his death.
Yes. Could I just interrupt for 1 second?
And she does a bit of flaking of her hair. I'm going to give it a pass. It's just a pacifying gesture. Might not mean nothing. Trump began putting his palms forward like this. Like, okay, he usually does that gesture. I think that he was trying to signal like, can you just stop? And he asked the question. I can't believe that you are asking that question.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? He looks away. That's something that Trump does sometimes. I think it's no big deal. But the next thing comes from Pam Bondi.
This guy's been talked about for years.
This guy has been talked about for years, and she smiles. Why is she smiling? Why is she smiling? I don't understand. That was really creepy and odd and disgusting. This is a topic. This is a really disgusting topic in general. This is concerning everything that has been happening around Jeffrey Epstein and all the people involved. I don't think that's something that is worth, smiling for. No, I don't think that's how we humans work. Humans with empathy.
You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep?
Okay, a couple of things. I'm pretty sure the United States government, the Trump administration can juggle and handle many things at once. Okay, like what happened in Texas is terrible. It's horrible.
Well, of course, we can see that for sure. But why was she smiling? Was she smiling because Trump was coming to her defense? Because she's getting hell from everybody in the MAGA movement who were promised? Here's Alex Jones, posted this just 5 hours ago.
Intelligence agency pedophile network blackmails. The Trump administration's attempt to whitewash, deep six, gaslight the public into just forgetting about the Jeffrey Epstein intelligence agency pedophile network blackmail system is not going away. In fact, the attempts to deep six it have only made it explode, as everybody can see. And look, we know the Democrats openly run child trafficking. The Clintons, their foundation, all of it, total connections to Epstein and more. So when I'm critical of Trump over this 180, it's because Trump's done such a great job, and we want to keep him true to the principles of why we got him elected 3 separate times. And at the same time, it's very important to bring down the entire globalist deep state with the Epstein file. So that's why people are so horrified. But there's so many things with this new Justice Department FBI memo that came out last Sunday that just enraged the public even more, like showing a video from inside the New York Federal Detention Center saying, look, here's the proof that nobody went into Epstein's cell, and it doesn't even show the door to his wing. And then there's a missing minute of it. And they say, look, here's your proof. I mean, it's like it's designed to piss people off. And I've already broken this down, but I saw a clip from Benny Johnson's show a few days ago, this morning, that shows the diagrams and everything that totally detail this, and it's just over the top crazy.
And we just showed you some of those diagrams just a few minutes ago. Now, continuing here, check this out. Here is Bill O'Reilly revealing he had a recent man-to-man talk with President Trump about the files. Wait till you hear what he says.
Names associated. I talked to President Trump man-to-man, eye-to-eye, on St. Patrick's Day about this and the Kennedy files and the King files. It was all one conversation. And he said, and I agree, there are a lot of names associated with Epstein that had nothing to do with Epstein's conduct. They maybe had lunch with him or maybe had some correspondence for one thing or another. If that name gets out, those people are destroyed because there's not going to be any context. Media doesn't care about context. So you can't do that. You can't destroy human beings by putting out the files, whatever they may be. I talked to President Trump.
Okay, so what he's saying is that, yeah, there's some people that may have just had some innocuous meetings with Epstein that had nothing to do with the trafficking network. Perhaps. And yeah, I can see the logic there, but there's a way to release the list because there are actual victims, like this Epstein survivor, Julie Bryant. Okay, right here. If you go and have coffee with Jeffrey Epstein, if you make a 15-hour interview with Jeffrey Epstein, doesn't mean you are part of that network. But the victims, what makes them a victim? Someone is committing a crime against these victims. Who is the someone, right? So, DOJ, do your homework. Figure out who these victims, who is perpetrating these crimes against these victims, and who is having coffee with Epstein. Okay? Separate the two. Here she is. She is pissed. You promised the list, and that is why the people gave you the presidency. This is an Epstein survivor. Watch.
Stupid. Wow, Donald Trump, America, government. Your government kidnapped me. You promised the Epstein list. Victims are being found dead. Hello. I mean, the whole reason you gained presidency, Trump, was because of promising the Epstein list. Are you as much of a liar as them? You know, and thank goodness for Elon Musk for actually standing up for what's right. You know, it's funny how only South Africans stand up, because where are the other 200 Epstein victims? Although maybe they're too frightened to speak out because of the American government. Well, I speak for all of them. I speak for all victims. How dare your government abuse, rape, and murder? We'll be coming for you. Don't you worry, government. You can sit there and pretend that Epstein didn't exist and that none of this happened. But guess what? We're not that fucking stupid. Don't make us any more angry, otherwise we will come and we will find you. How dare you?
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, that sounds like a threat right there. Unreal. She is pissed, and you saw it right there. That is Juliette Bryant. Says she was kidnapped by Epstein, speaking out directly to the Trump administration. Here we have Sean Ryan. Here is a clip from his recent podcast talking about Sarah Kellen. Listen.
Probably trafficking.
Yeah. Why do you think the media is so hesitant to cover this shit?
Sarah Kellen. And this woman has led a lot of lambs to the slaughter. Maxwell only getting 20, considering that she's been probably trafficking for 25 years.
They don't want any justice for these victims.
No. Jeffrey Epstein trafficked underage girls for 25 years.
I have a question. Who the hell is Sarah Kellen?
Sarah Kellen was one of Epstein's procurers, a.k.a. pimps. And actually, the New York Times did an article on 6 Epstein procurers, a.k.a. pimps. And Maxwell was the leading one, but right below her was Epstein's number 2 lieutenant, Sarah Kellen. And this woman has led a lot of lambs to the slaughter. She should be serving multiple lifetimes for child trafficking. Child trafficking is 15 to life. And Maxwell only getting 20, considering that she's been probably trafficking for 25 years, is a joke. But with Kellen, she should also be in prison with Maxwell. And again, as we've talked about it last time, we'll talk about it this time, the government has been completely unwilling to prosecute the procurers and the perpetrators in the Jeffrey Epstein network.
Well, it sounds like I know we're going to get into this, but it sounds like, what did you say her name?
Sarah Kellen.
The other one.
Ghislaine Maxwell.
Yeah, Ghislaine. Sounds like she's got a pretty cush prison sentence.
Well, she's in a dormitory now, and generally people that are in dormitories, prison dormitories, they've been exemplary prisoners. They've done a lot of time, and they're getting ready to get released. And Maxwell got into a dormitory after like 2 years. So obviously, she's been given very cush circumstances.
I wonder why, huh? Probably because she still has the goods on those people who have the keys to her prison cell. Moving right along, Laura Loomer posted this 24 hours ago. Hi, AG Pam Bondi. When will you be getting back to us on whether or not Jeffrey Epstein was an agent? I did the work for you. See below. Yes, he was an agent. How are you not aware of the Epstein documents from 2008 pertaining to his deal with the FBI to feed them info? Here is the document. Okay? You may have seen this. This is an official FBI document that states in red, Epstein has also provided information to the FBI as agreed upon. Jeffrey Epstein cooperating with the FBI. Well, here's some more pictures. And wait till you see what we got from the Morning Standard. Okay. Here is Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, hanging out with Bill Clinton. I mean, we've all seen the pictures with Bill. And of course, here is Ghislaine Maxwell at the United Nations. Like, what role did she play at the United Nations? How much dirt did she have on people, ambassadors to the UN? So here we have, 15 hours ago, diligent denizen writing this. Breaking, Jeffrey Epstein did claim to work for the CIA according to the Evening Standard as early as 2001 before any criminal charges against him. Evening Standard, Monday, January 22nd, 2001, page 287. The story about Jeffrey Epstein. Can we see it? Can we move in a little closer? There it is. He has a license to carry a concealed weapon, once claimed to have worked for the CIA. although he now denies it. Isn't that part of the game? You never claim to work for the CIA. You can never say you work for the CIA. So he probably slipped up, told somebody, and now he's like, oh, well, I'm just going to deny it. Right? Standard operating procedure when it comes to operatives in the field. And make no mistake, now if Judicial Watch has their way and we can get this thing to see the light of day, then the Trump administration will have redeemed itself. Promises made, promises kept. But if not, there is this I think could really unravel the entire administration. But there you have right there, the CIA stating he worked for them. And I don't want to show you this picture, but you can see here Johnny Midnight, August 15th, 2019, Washington Post announced the bones that were broken in his neck was more typical in a homicide. I mean, that's what the independent autopsy revealed. Now, Mike Benz, watch this and you will understand there is simply no way Epstein was not on the CIA's radar since at least 1983, when Epstein was 30 years old. At the time, Epstein was managing the covert funds of the CIA's top point man for its biggest covert operation. And again, make no mistake, I believe that this operation is still ongoing. It's still in play. The operation was never closed. That's why they have these. That's why the list has not come out officially. Because the operation's ongoing. The honeypot operation is still active. Because they still need to be able to blackmail all the people that partook in it. Let's take a look at this from Mike Benz.
What do you think Epstein was to the CIA?
Well, I think Epstein was working with the CIA in the early 1980s at the very start of his career after he left Bear Stearns. In 1981, right after leaving Bear Stearns, Jeffrey Epstein created a one-person for-profit company in his one-bedroom New York apartment. It was called the Intercontinental Assets Group. And it held itself out as a international bounty hunter for high net worth individuals to both recover money and shield money internationally. So right away in 1981, he starts this company that basically helped royalty and high net worth individuals basically recover loan debts or assets owed to them that were held in cryptic offshore bank accounts, as well as helping them structure their own assets in a way that would make it difficult or impossible for others to collect those assets. And in 1982, just 1 year into that, he got a fake passport, an Austrian passport listing his residence as Saudi Arabia. This is a fake passport. This was recovered by the FBI in 2019 when they drilled a hole in Jeffrey Epstein's safe and recovered this. Prosecutors held this passport up at the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. This fake passport was so good that it was able to go through 4 different country checkpoints. It had a false name, but Jeffrey Epstein's photo, so that he could get back and forth. And why Saudi Arabia? Well, because Jeffrey Epstein, one of his main clients for the group that he set up in 1981, was Adnan Khashoggi. Adnan Khashoggi was the CIA arms runner for the Iran-Contra affair. When Congress blocked the U.S. federal government through a congressional law called the Bolin Amendment, with the Democrats controlling the House of Representatives, banning any U.S. funds from being directed to the overthrow of the Nicaraguan Sandinista government, and the Reagan White House and National Security Council and Central Intelligence Agency wanted to do it anyway, they were left with a problem, which was that the CIA had been neutered during the Jimmy Carter years. There had been prohibitions on the categories of covert activity it could do, and the Boland Amendment from Congress blocked them from using U.S. aid funds or State Department funds to run the operation. Enter Jeffrey Epstein and Adnan Khashoggi, his client. During the Iran-Contra affair, which dogged the entire Reagan administration when all this came out, the U.S. was selling arms together with Israel to Iran, which is kind of ironic as the current geopolitics of Israel-Iran play out around missiles flying overhead earlier this month between those two countries. Israel and the U.S. were selling weapons to Iran at that time through Adnan Khashoggi, the Saudi arms dealer, who had been working with the CIA for 30 years. In fact, this all came out in formal under oath testimony from the Paris office of BCCI, which was the Bank of Credit and Commerce International, one of the largest banks in the world, which was effectively a CIA proprietary bank for running arms to the Mujahideen when the CIA was creating the Islamo-terrorist network that would later become Al-Qaeda and then ISIS.
Okay, so you see where we're going with this? He's been working with them for a long time. So when this article says he claimed to work for the CIA and then denies it, there's your proof. Okay? But is there really a black book? Is there really one? Look at this. Just Keith posts this. There is no Epstein list, except it was evidence in the case against Ghislaine Maxwell. New York Times. Examining the book recovered from the villa, he said he recognized many, many, many names. Epstein's address book can be shown in court. Judge rules. The so-called Little Black Book has been the subject of intense speculation. An address book filled with Jeffrey Epstein's contacts, one of many small blue or black books where witnesses say he kept the names of girls who gave him massages, can be introduced at Ghislaine Maxwell's trial. The judge ruled. Like the Little Black Book of so-called Hollywood Madam Heidi Fleiss that revealed politicians and celebrities among her clients, the books have been a subject of intense interest since the Epstein scandal burst into public view. There long been hopes and fears that such contact lists could include the names not only of his victims, but also prominent figures he socialized with and in some cases was accused of introducing to girls for trafficking. But the ruling issued Thursday does not mean those contacts will become public. Just one book labeled as Exhibit GX52. Write that down. Exhibit GX52 is at issue in Maxwell's trial. And in the negotiations in federal court on Friday, the prosecution and defense agreed only excerpts would be introduced under seal. So there it is. It doesn't exist. It was part of the evidence of the trial. Exhibit GX52. Right there, baby. There it is. There's the list. It is under seal, and all they have to do is parse out the people he had coffee with and the people that he was trafficking his victims to. And maybe, just maybe, with Judicial Watch on the case, we will see this finally getting some sunlight. The sunlight that it deserves. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. So why does this matter? It's because Jeffrey Epstein wasn't just trafficking children. He was running a state-sanctioned blackmail operation targeting the most powerful people on earth. When Laura Loomer asked Pam Bondi if Epstein was an agent and gets silence, that's your answer. When survivors like Juliette Bryant say the government was complicit, believe them. Remember, believe all women, right? Isn't that the mantra? When Mike Benz traces Epstein's CIA contacts back to 1983, that's not speculation, that is documented history. The FBI holds the black book. Okay? They have it. They have the client lists. They have the surveillance footage, yet not one powerful person has been prosecuted. So ask yourself this. Should intelligence agencies, should they be allowed to run child trafficking operations for blackmail purposes? That's where we are, though. But you can answer yes or no in the comments. And while you're there, check out our merch shop, link below. We've got gear that shows you are awake to their games. This is Gary Franchi reminding you the truth will always surface. Okay, $15 super chat have come through. Thank you guys. Appreciate that. Wow, lots of new members have been recipients of gifts today from Eva Williamson. Thank you, Eva. David Guthrie dropping $10. No one left in Washington once the list is out. Yeah, that's. I was talking with someone about that the other day. What happens if the list gets out? Well, you're going to have a lot of vacancies in Congress. That's what's going to happen. Alex Gallegos dropping $5. Trump is using this as leverage against the swamp to allow him to do his job as president. Perhaps. Perhaps. Yes, you need leverage in the swamp. And if there's one thing, that book certainly does provide it. Okay, let's move into our answer. It is actually B. Yes, if you were paying attention during the last segment, the answer is B, 2001. And, oh, you guys said 1999. You weren't paying attention to the segments. Unbelievable, you guys. I gave you the answer in the segment. Oh, shame on you. Answer was B, 2001. The Evening Standard reported Epstein's CIA claims before any criminal charges were ever filed. Come on, guys. Come on. Come on. Okay. Let's see where we're at now. We got to get, let's see. Okay. Let's see what we have here. Okay. Our next trivia question. What year did the FBI's Crossfire Hurricane investigation into Trump begin? A, 2015, B, 2016, C, 2017, or D, 2018? It was 2016. It was January, right before Trump took the oath. That is when Comey and his cohorts took action. That's what I believe. I think you guys are going to get this right, too. You guys so far saying A is the answer. We're going to get to that answer after the segment because now the coup leaders are facing justice. The architects of America's first intelligence coup are finally facing the music. James Comey is under criminal investigation. John Brennan and James Clapper could be next. Now, these men didn't just lie about Russian collusion. They weaponized our intelligence agencies against a sitting president. The mythical 17 intelligence agencies turned out to be 3 professional liars who committed sedition with smiles on their faces. Video evidence shows FBI brass admitting to sabotage. Peter Strzok, remember that guy? Testified the entire 7th floor was involved. They spied, they lied, and they tried to overthrow the will of the American people. Now, President Trump says that they are crooked as hell and must pay the price. The coup is finally collapsing. We have the details, so keep on watching. And while corrupt officials face justice for their attempted coup, parents across America face a different battle, protecting their children from indoctrination. Remember, freedom is never more than one generation from extinction, and that's why the Tuttle Twins created the most effective Liberty First content for kids. Their monthly magazine teaches children about economics and liberty and responsibility through comics, activities, and real-world lessons that counter the woke agenda pushed in schools. Right now, subscribe a loved one as a gift that'll keep on giving for just $56 per year. That's pennies at TuttleTwins.com/next. Don't let your child or your grandchild, your niece or nephew become another victim of leftist programming. Teach them to think critically about government power and individual freedom. Visit TuttleTwins.com/next. It is linked down below. Visit them today. Okay. We love the Tuttle Twins here at the Next News Network. But this is big news. I am super excited. Congressman Byron Donalds says the Comey-Brennan investigation is long overdue.
The FBI has just launched Fox News alert. The FBI has just launched criminal investigations into two former Obama officials, former CIA Director John Brennan and former FBI Director James Comey, for their involvement in the Russia hoax. Sources say Director Brennan is under investigation for lying to Congress, and that Brennan and Comey were involved in a conspiracy. Brennan apparently told Congress that he didn't have anything to do with the Steele dossier. But we're hearing that Brennan's two top CIA officers warned the director not to touch it and called it an internet rumor. But Brennan pushed it hard anyway. Both Obama's FBI director and CIA director basically knew the Trump-Russia hoax came from Hillary Clinton's campaign, but they both used it to smear and investigate Donald Trump. Comey and Brennan's security clearances have both been stripped by the sitting president, and Comey just had a sit-down with the Secret Service over seashells. This is the beginning of a major confrontation. Fox
and
News
I am here for it. And now, here we have John Brennan running to a safe space on MSNBC, saying the investigation into him and Comey is the authoritarian playbook. Well, who's a freaking authoritarian, buddy? You're abusing your power. You are the authoritarian, Brennan.
Right. I keep thinking, okay, this is the authoritarian playbook. We've seen this play out so many times. And unfortunately, I think we're seeing it play out. And a number of academics and writers have pointed out, and Carl Schmitt, who was a German jurist, political philosopher and writer in the 1930s, his thesis, which Nazi Germany basically took up, was don't worry about doing something that is ethical or principled or good or right. Do whatever you can to win, vanquish your adversaries, vanquish your enemies. And unfortunately, we have seen that happening overseas. We've seen it in Viktor Orban in Hungary. We've seen it with Vladimir Putin.
And we saw it with you guys in Russiagate.
In China, other places. We see it also in terms of, some of the foreign policies that are being implemented, including, in the Middle East right now. So I really am very worried that what we're seeing now in this chapter of American history.
You should be worried, buddy. You should be very, very worried about this chapter in American history.
Is a sad deterioration of, I think, the respect for the rule of law and for our system of government. And if a president of the United States is willing to weaponize intelligence and justice and law enforcement investigators, and the people who head up these departments and agencies are willing to bow to it, we really are in deep, deep trouble, which was why I think so many people are worried about the direction this country is taking. I keep thinking, okay,
that was a masterclass in projection. I mean, did you hear that last part?
This chapter of American history is a sad deterioration of, I think, our system of government. And if a president of the United States is willing to weaponize intelligence and justice.
If a president of the United States is willing to weaponize intelligence, that's exactly what you guys did with Barack Obama right before Trump took the oath. I cannot believe the hubris from these guys. Thank God they're under investigation. Here's a moment that will forever be enshrined. Here is Comey walking up to President Trump, knowing full well in the back room he is working to undermine his authority. Look at him walk up. Comey's a big guy, man. Look at how tall he is. He's huge. And what does he do? Goes. Did Trump give him a kiss on the cheek? What happened there? I don't know. As Comey is shaking the duly elected President Trump's hand, he's already running an operation to frame him for treason. The 17 intelligence agencies that agreed Russia meddled in 2016 presidential election turned out to be just 3 professional liars. Comey, Clapper, Brennan. Treason. This clip has just surfaced. Remember this guy, Peter Strzok? If Comey's under investigation, they all should be. Here's a video of Strzok testifying under oath that the entire 7th floor brass of the FBI is guilty of sedition, implicating all of them. Coup, treason, sedition, whatever you want to call it.
Every investigation, at every step, at every investigative decision, there are multiple layers of people above me, the assistant director, executive assistant director, deputy director, and director of the FBI, and multiple layers of people below me, section chiefs, supervisors, unit chiefs, case agents, and analysts, all of whom were involved in all of these decisions. At every step, at every investigative...
Who will ever forget the evil on his face during that testimony? The faces of evil right here. Comey, Clapper, Brennan, Strzok belong in jail. The whole tweet posts the pictures of them all. The face of evil, the face of evil, the face of evil, the face of evil. All of them. Now, finally, facing an investigation. Now, this was posted a day ago. This is an earlier interview with James Comey. It was copied from the late Lou Dobbs X account. Video of Jim Comey actually admitting the FBI sabotaged Trump and his administration, admitting to sedition with a smile on his face. Comey was not pardoned by Joe Biden. Now Comey is under investigation. Let's go back to the Lou Dobbs thing. This was posted. This is from 2018. That's when Lou Dobbs posted this video. December 14th, 2018. Let's pull that back up here so you can see it. Let's listen.
Official.
You look at this White House now, and it's hard to imagine 2 FBI agents ending up in the sit room. How did that happen?
I sent them. Something I probably wouldn't have done or maybe gotten away with in a more organized investigation, a more organized administration, in the George W. Bush administration, for example, or the Obama administration. In both of those administrations, there was process. And so if the FBI wanted to send agents into the White House itself to interview a senior official, you would work through the White House counsel, and there'd be discussions and approvals, and who would be there. And I thought it's early enough, let's just send a couple guys over.
Yep. You look at this White House now.
He bypassed it all. Just sent a couple guys over. Here we have. Haha, I can't stop laughing at how hilarious it is to watch these criminals squirm after finding out that Brennan and Comey are under investigation. Mark Elias is literally begging the media not to report on the investigations.
I'm going to stand up and we predicted, you and I and others, that we were going to get to this moment. And the question is, what do we do? And the question of what we do is multifaceted. The first question is, what do we do? Do we retreat and hide in the corner? So I'm on TV today, not hiding in the corner. I'm not retreating. I'm saying I'm going to stand up and fight, and Donald Trump won't intimidate me by going back to this 2016 stuff. And that's one thing. But the other thing we've talked about is, what do large institutions do? You know, what do civil society groups do? What does the media do? And I am imploring, like, honestly, I'm just imploring the media, do not report this as a legitimate investigation. Do not report this as they're opening a investigation into John Brennan. We will see where it goes. Report this as the misuse, the abuse, the authoritarian takeover of the Department of Justice. That should be the headline. The headline should be, in a misuse and abuse of the power of the executive branch, Donald Trump has asked his Department of Justice to open a bogus investigation into John Brennan.
Bogus investigation, begging the media not to cover it. That's how panicked they are at this very moment. Here we have General Mike Flynn. These three names, Brennan, Comey, and Clapper, should forever be etched into American history as the men who betrayed their country. They lied, they spied, they covered it up, from the Russia hoax to illegal surveillance to the blatant election interference. This wasn't politics. This was an abuse of power at the highest levels, using the tools of the intelligence community to attack a sitting president, deceive the public, and rig the narrative with the help of their media pawns. We know what they did. The question now is, will they be held accountable? Without truth, there can be no trust. Without accountability, the republic cannot survive. The American people are watching.
And with the authorities that he has
to them,
they should immediately be put under investigation immediately. And actually, you know, there can be decisions by the president and with the authorities that he has to bring them in now, like to bring them in under question and question them And frankly, there's a lot of authorities that he has to be able to do that for solely national security purposes. Now, let me make a statement here, too, about those three, Benny. Those three are soldiers. They're not commanders. Those three are soldiers. They were doing the bidding of those that are leading this effort to overthrow this country, okay? Barack Obama is one of the subordinate leaders of that cabal.
You have a high confidence level that Clapper, Comey, and Brennan will all go to prison if this investigation is
I do.
brought.
I absolutely do, because what they'll learn is they're going to learn that there was a conspiracy to undermine. It's clear there's a conspiracy to undermine the presidency of the United States of America and, of course, President Donald J. Trump. And to do that, they had to take a whole series of actions. And frankly, Hillary Clinton's part of this.
But these
don't forget Hillary Clinton, right? I mean, I just showed you the video, okay, of Comey admitting that he subverted the process to send those FBI agents into the White House. Here's more from James Comey. I'm sorry, from General Mike Flynn, excuse me.
We cannot move forward. The nation cannot move forward. I don't care how good how much Trump, adjusts the economy, and he will, but we cannot move forward unless move forward. I don't care how good how much Trump, adjusts the economy, and he will, but we cannot move forward unless people are held accountable. And I mean very, very senior people, and they all know who I'm talking about. You know who I'm talking about, and I've said it many times. It's the start with Obama and work your way down, right? I mean, maybe you don't throw a former president into prison, but maybe you do. Maybe somebody says, well, who directed you, John Brennan? Who directed you, Jim Clapper? Who directed you, Susan Rice? Under oath, under the lights, and with the threat of prison, okay? And so who directed you? Well, if they say nothing, okay, then that's fine. Then you're going to go to prison. You're going to prison. You're going to prison for treason, okay? Treason. That's a very strong word. It's a very strong word. And like all these pardons, right? These pardons, the only thing that can't overcome a pardon is treason, is the commitment of treason. I mean, I get called a traitor all the time, and I say, well, wait a second, so if I'm a traitor, why am I walking the streets, right? If I committed treason, why am I walking the streets? I was never charged with that. They dismissed my case because they lied, right? And so, you think Mueller and Wiseman, Andrew Wiseman, who was the deputy to Mueller, would have let me go? Had I was a traitor or that I committed treason? The treason was committed against me as not just Mike Flynn, an Army general, but the national security advisor by a duly elected president of the United States. The outgoing administration under Barack H. Obama committed treason. They committed a conspiracy to undermine a duly elected president, and it hasn't stopped.
It has not stopped. Well, maybe finally it will stop. Taking a look at what happened in Butler. We'll get to that in a second. Here's more from General Mike Flynn just a few hours ago. Brennan, Comey, a former DNI and longtime bureaucrat consumed by the deep state, James Comey, are architects of the silent coup. They didn't just lie. They launched an internal war on a duly elected president and American people who put him there. So here, and he's attaching an image of Donald Trump, a post from Donald Trump's Truth Social, who says, the great Greg Jarrett, he's quoting the great Greg Jarrett, "It's clear Trump was framed. The collusion narrative was a conspiracy itself. The corroborators knew it was a lie, but they manipulated the dossier and the CIA to peddle their fairy tale. Brennan and Comey manipulated the system. In the document itself, they abused their power. Comey launched a case against Trump in violation of the FBI regulations that he admitted." Remember, we just showed you that clip. He admitted. He deceived the FISA court with the dossier to gain a spy warrant. John Brennan used that dossier knowing it was garbage, and he insisted it be put into the Intelligence Committee assessment. He knew it was such a phony document, and that if it could be put in the Intelligence Committee assessment, it will elevate the credibility and that he could drive Trump from office. He told Congress that it wasn't in the assessment. Well, it was. Can he be charged? Yes, he can. They eroded confidence and trust in the American government, particularly the FBI, CIA, and other agencies single-handedly. They set back America considerably. James Comey needs daily therapy. He's so obsessed with his hatred of Trump. It's what drove the Russia hoax. He, more than anybody else, drove the witch hunt, and he can never get over the fact that he failed and got fired. And he hates that as well. On his way out the door, he purloined FBI documents and leaked them to the media with the plan that this will trigger the special counsel and drive Trump from office. Bob Mueller was appointed, his longtime mentor and friend, but in the end, his scheme failed. Wow, thank you, Greg. Amazing reporting. President Trump posted that. That is a damning indictment and likely serves as the entire basis for this investigation. Whew. It is so long overdue. I am so here for it. Let it ride, baby. MSNBC is melting down because the Secret Service treated Comey as an active threat to the president after he posted 8647. Maybe he shouldn't post a picture. Gunter Eagleman writing that. Let's listen in real quick on MSNBC.
The day after Comey. The New York Times is out with some brand new reporting on exactly what happened after former FBI Director Jim Comey posted an image on social media that Trump allies claimed was akin to a call to assassinate Donald Trump. 3 officials tell the New York Times that the day after Comey posted and then deleted that image, the Secret Service had Comey, quote, followed by law enforcement authorities in unmarked cars and street clothes and tracked the location of his cell phone. Mr. Comey and his wife, Patrice, were tailed by the authorities as they drove from the North Carolina coast, where they had been vacationing, through Virginia to their home in the Washington area. At the same time, the Secret Service was receiving information showing the location of Mr. Comey's phone while federal authorities were stationed at his home waiting for him to return. The Secret Service declined to comment to the New York Times. Former Secret Service officials tell the Times that it is the kind of surveillance typically used for someone who would be considered an active threat to someone in their protection. Joining our conversation.
An active threat indeed. When you make posts like that, you're telegraphing to the world your endorsement of an action against a sitting president, the one who you just tried to get thrown out of office years ago, and now an investigation's underway. I want to note here that it has been 1 year since President Trump was nearly assassinated at his rally in Butler, PA, and 1 year since Corey Compatore was killed. The family still doesn't know much about the gunman. They're pushing for answers. The Secret Service needs to be held accountable. Secret Service has, 6 of them have been suspended for their incompetence during the July 3rd. Was it incompetence? Since the July 13th, 2024 assassination attempt, they wouldn't secure a roof because they said it was sloped. Let's listen to this report.
Hi, Bill. Well, we all remember where we were, right, on July 13th of last year. And for the Compatore family, they were right there in that field behind us. They lost everything that day. Corey was a firefighter, a dad, and a husband, and a friend to so many people here in Butler County. A year later, if you can believe it, after that gunman climbed on that building right behind me, the family says, where are the answers about Thomas Crooks? Why don't we know more about him? But one thing they do believe is the Secret Service made major mistakes that day.
We were all sitting ducks that day. Our blood is all over their hands. I'm angry. I lost the love of my life.
The Secret Service admitting to multiple failures after a 20-year-old gunman climbed onto a rooftop at a Trump rally in Butler, Pennsylvania on July 13th of last year and fired off 8 rounds.
Why weren't they paying attention? Why did they think that roof didn't need covered?
Those gunshots nearly taking the life of President Trump. critically injuring 2 men and killing Corey Comparator, a husband, father, and fireman. His wife Helen tells me she thinks about him every day.
A year later, doesn't get any easier.
No. Sometimes I still just pretend he's at work and he's going to come home at the end of the day.
Police say Thomas Crooks fired those gunshots. Investigators say the once shy college kid planned this attack for days.
Do you think Thomas Crooks did this all by himself?
Honestly, I believe that he could. I do believe. I mean, kids can do those things when they're mentally not right.
Did you think at this point there'd be more answers?
Yes, especially about the shooter, which we still don't know.
Butler County Sheriff Mike Sloop says people are still grieving.
They remember it like it was yesterday, because in our minds, and yours probably too, it was yesterday.
I think everybody here is so shaken up and confused on what's even going on. We heard several gunshots. If you could sit down with the Secret Service, what would you tell them?
Why Butler? Why Butler? Why was that such a failure? I want to sit down and talk to them. I have the right to. They need to listen to me.
So the Secret Service bill says they have made major changes since that day. This weekend, the family is having a cruise, a motorcycle ride for Corey. Wow. Bill.
Remarkable stuff.
Oh, man. It breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. 6 Secret Service agents have been suspended. Suspended is not enough. I mean, whatever happened? Whatever happened? Whatever happened to those encrypted phones that he had? Overseas accounts. Still don't have answers.
Trump's Butler. Fox News alert, we're learning tonight 6 Secret Service agents that were connected to Trump's Butler assassination attempt have been suspended. This comes just days shy of the shooting's anniversary. The identities of the agents suspended are unknown, but sources say their roles range from supervisory positions to line-level agents. We'll continue to monitor this story and bring you.
So, there you have it. At least something is happening in the process there. And now we're seeing Comey, Brennan under investigation. This is only the beginning. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. So this coup wasn't theory. It was treason. Comey, Brennan, Clapper orchestrated a silent war against our republic itself. They turned the FBI and CIA into political weapons, manufactured evidence, lied under oath, and tried to nullify 74 million votes. General Flynn calls them traitors who should be etched into history as men who betrayed their country, and he is right. Meanwhile, we're marking 1 year since President Trump survived Butler, while Corey Comparator didn't. 6 Secret Service agents suspended for incompetence? I don't know. It's not justice. It's a cover-up. Comey posting cryptic threats and got flagged as an active threat to the president. Those are not isolated incidents. They are connected. So here's my question. Do you believe the Butler shooting was a simple act of incompetence or something much darker? Drop your answer in the comments below. And grab some Next News gear from our shop to show you stand with truth over treason. Linked below. Okay, Tommy 420 dropping a super chat. Thanks, Gary. $10. Thank you, sir, for that. Much appreciated. And Adam C. I saw this come in during the segment. I wasn't sure what it meant. Gary, don't be afraid. Tell your viewers about the joint SAR lawsuit against Epstein and Trump. Pull up the PACER court document system right now and show them the truth. Well, I can't. It would take me some time to research that, Adam. Todd, if you want to make a note, maybe we can dive into that at a later date. But thank you, Adam, for that message. Okay, let's get to our trivia answer. It was B. Holy cow, you guys got it wrong? Oh my goodness. You guys said 2015. The answer was B. 2016. Crossfire Hurricane began in 2016, launching the deep state's coup attempt. Now, July was the date. I thought it happened in January. Okay, we're going to continue moving forward here with our next question. In which famous 1966 case did the Supreme Court establish Miranda rights under the Fifth Amendment? A. Miranda versus Arizona. B. Gideon versus Wainwright. C. Terry versus Ohio. Or B. Mapp versus Ohio. Well, I mean, it seems like pretty obvious here is A, right? I mean, how else could it be something different? We'll find out, though, when we get after the segment. Continuing our coverage of the auto pen scandal and those who enabled the deep state apparatus behind Joe Biden to continue to overthrow the will of the American people, we have now the man who told America that Joe Biden was mentally fit. He just confessed through silence. I'm talking about Dr. Kevin O'Connor, Biden's personal physician. He pleaded the Fifth Amendment yesterday when Congress asked about the president's cognitive abilities. So think about that. The doctor will not defend his own medical assessments under oath. Now, for years, he signed letters claiming Biden was sharp and vigorous while we watched the president freeze on stage and forget where he was. The Oversight Committee called it what it is, a conspiracy to deceive the American people. Democrats now building a resistance to fight Trump while their own president's doctor runs from questions. So who's really running the country? Well, we know Donald Trump is. But during the auto pen scandal, who were the characters? But the answer is becoming terrifyingly clear. So don't look away. While Biden's doctor hides behind the Fifth Amendment, millions of Americans are discovering they can't hide from aging. As we age, our body's collagen production declines, leading to visible signs of like wrinkles and sagging skin and joint pain. By our 40s, collagen levels drop significantly and continue declining yearly. That's why I use Ageless Multi-Collagen. It includes 5 key types of collagen, 4 premium sources, all hydrolyzed for easy absorption. No clumping, no odor, just smooth blending into your morning routine. Visit healthwithgary.com today and get 51% off your order plus free shipping. Your skin will thank you. That's healthwithgary.com. So we covered this yesterday. The video is now surfacing. Libs of TikTok posting. Watch the moment Biden's White House doctor, Kevin O'Connor, announced he was pleading the Fifth to all questions at his deposition about Biden's condition. He's part of the cover-up and knows it's indefensible.
Dr. O'Connor, before we begin, I would like to go over the ground rules for this deposition. The committee will conduct today's deposition in accordance with the House of Representatives regulations for the use of deposition authority, which were furnished to your counsel. This regulation is incorporated into the rules of the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform at Rule 15, which was also furnished to your counsel. The questioning will proceed in rounds. The majority will ask questions for an hour, and then the minority will have an opportunity to ask questions for an hour if they choose. There will be one staff counsel per side asking the questions during each round. To the extent members have questions for the witness, they will be propounded during their side's respective rounds. Do you understand?
On the advice of counsel, I must respectfully decline to answer based on the physician-patient privilege and reliance on my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution. I am not a lawyer, and I must follow my lawyer's advice in this matter.
So, gentlemen, we intend to assert both privileges with regard to any questions that would be asked at this deposition. And Dr. O'Connor will not answer any questions.
Can we go off the record for 1 second?
Dr. O'Connor.
Can we go off the record for just 1 second? Believe that. You heard him right there. I mean, if that's not an admission of guilt, I don't know what is. Here's what James Comer just posted. Biden's top enablers can no longer hide behind the power of the presidency. Americans are fed up with the lies about Biden's obvious decline. GOP oversight is bringing the truth to light. We won't tolerate obstruction. Joe Biden's doctor must appear.
His congressional.
Republicans are speaking out tonight about what they call an attempt to delay the investigation into the alleged cover-up of then-President Biden's mental decline. This one involves a key witness who has knowledge, intimate knowledge, of Biden's medical care. Our senior national correspondent Aisha Husni has that story tonight from Capitol Hill.
Tonight, House Republicans are threatening to hold former President Biden's White House physician in contempt of Congress as Dr. Kevin O'Connor tries to delay his congressional deposition set for tomorrow. In a letter obtained by Fox News, O'Connor's attorney is asking the Oversight Committee to pause and strike a deal on ground rules for the questioning to protect him from disclosing anything that could be covered by doctor-patient confidentiality. Writing, Dr. O'Connor has legal and ethical obligations that he must satisfy and for which violations carry serious consequences to him professionally and personally. The committee
There's going to be some serious consequences regardless.
He tells Fox it's yet another delay tactic to stonewall its investigation into an alleged cover-up of President Biden's cognitive decline. They say House rules allow witnesses to assert privilege on a question-by-question basis, but that it's up to the chair to rule on those claims.
It's our legal understanding that he cannot hide behind HIPAA laws or patient-doctor confidentiality. The White House has waived executive privilege.
Republicans want to know what tests Dr. O'Connor performed on then-President Biden and whether Biden's inner circle asked him to issue reports saying that he was fit for office, as they try to figure out if there was any misuse of the auto pen.
And so, John, if Dr. O'Connor does not show up tomorrow, then the House Oversight Committee will begin its contempt proceedings against him for violating that subpoena. They also have on tap the former chief of staff, Ron Klain, and the former senior advisor, Anita Dunn. They are set to be deposed later this summer.
Oh, and we'll be waiting for that. But as you now know, he pled the fifth. He tried to invoke doctor-patient privilege. As you heard, Comer said that he can't waive that. He can't waive HIPAA. So, of course, he leans on the fifth. And as you heard in that report, the White House waived his executive privilege for O'Connor in that hearing. Here's the letter that was obtained. Dear Dr. O'Connor, I'm writing regarding a subpoena issued to you by the U.S. House of Representatives, Committee on Oversight and Reform. In light of unique, extraordinary nature of the matters under investigation, Trump has determined that an assertion of executive privilege is not in the national interest and therefore is not justified. President Trump has determined. President Trump has determined. I love it. Ain't that beautiful? Okay, we got this. 3 hours ago, James Comer posting this. When Joe's doctor was asked under oath whether he'd been instructed to lie about Biden's health, he pled the fifth. When questioned under oath about whether he believed Biden was fit, he again pleaded the fifth. President Trump is right. This is the biggest scandal in Oval Office history.
Ever told to lie about?
There was a doctor in Washington today. No, not Dr. Jill. That's still to come. Biden's personal doctor, Kevin O'Connor, finally went under oath, but he folded like Biden's beach chair. Primetime got the tape. Watch.
Dr. O'Connor, were you ever told to lie about the president's health?
On the advice of counsel, I must respectfully decline to answer based upon the physician-patient privilege and in reliance on my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution. I am not a lawyer. I must follow my lawyer's advice in this matter.
Seems like a pretty simple question. Did you lie about the auto pen's health? Yes or no? O'Connor pleaded the fifth 14 times in 20 minutes.
I must respectfully decline to answer based on the physician-patient privilege and reliance on my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution. On my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution. On my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution. On my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution. On my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
What's O'Connor hiding? When the truth's harmless, no one hides behind the Fifth. He's got a lot to answer. Like, why did Biden take more COVID tests than cancer screenings? When did you find out about the cancer, O'Connor? Did you notice the president deteriorating? Did anyone help you write his medical report? If so, who? Dr. O'Connor swore an oath to do no harm, but the way he treated or mistreated his patient, the most important patient in the world, the president, harmed the president and the American people.
Wow.
And now he pleads the Fifth and runs out of the room faster than Bowman after he pulled the alarm.
Dr. O'Connor, did you take the Fifth at all points? Did you take the Fifth because you're trying to cover up what the president's state was? Is he healthy now? Was he healthy when you...
Comer couldn't believe it. He's seen more honest testimony from Hunter's business partners.
What Dr. O'Connor did today only added fuel to the fire, that there was a cover-up and that Joe Biden wasn't mentally fit to serve as president of the United States. Most people invoke the Fifth when they have criminal liability. And, that's what it would appear on the surface here.
Meanwhile, Democrats are doing CPR on the cover-up. Jazzy Crockett says Biden's fine. He just stutters.
He may get fumbled up by words, but that's not anything new, and it's not anything that came with age. We know that this is someone that was born with a stutter that ultimately had to get over it. If there's anyone that I am concerned about their mental acuity, it is the current occupant.
This is the biggest cover-up in American history, and Jazzy's defense is, he is. The White House didn't just respond, they unloaded. Quote, Jasmine Crockett has the brain capacity of a jellyfish and is the last person on earth to critique anyone's mental acuity, let alone intelligence. So while Jazzy Jellyfish protects Biden's mushy brain, Primetime got our hands on a new tell-all, and it's juicy. Otto Penn's aides thought the Her interview was a home run. Quote, Biden's inner circle thought the Her interview went fine. Some aides thought the president's memory could pose a problem. Others said it was just Biden being Biden and there was no reason to worry. Biden's team was more delusional than Dr. Jill on debate night. Hollywood played their roles too. Film producer Jeffrey Katzenberg told Joe to close his eyes and pretend he's on world tour with the Stones.
Oh my goodness. Wow. But did you hear what Comer said? People only plead the Fifth when there's something criminal going on. And that's what it looks like here. And we all know it, too. Here we have this. This is Congressman Michael Cloud of Texas, who says, for years, Biden White House denied concerns about his cognitive decline. Now insiders and tell-all books suggest the full story wasn't told to the American people. So who was really making the decisions? Here he is on News Nation.
Are they legitimate or not?
I mean, if nothing new comes from these interviews, if they continue to say he was fit to hold office in his final years, even the things that we saw publicly, what then?
Well, it's important to know, as we go forward and as we, look at the investigations that are happening and definitely some of the policy impacts that have happened. And again, related to the pardons, are they legitimate or not? They were just on face value, the very broad-based, they stood out from what a normal pardon request would be. And for so long, we saw denials coming from the White House at every single level. And much of the media also denying that there was any sort of cognitive decline for quite some time until it was on full display during a debate. And then, of course, since he's not in office, we have these tell-all books coming out from the very insiders suggesting that there indeed was maybe not full forthcoming transparency from the White House during his term. And so this is something that's on the minds of the American people. We need to know who was really running things, who was making some of the decisions, and especially in light of what we've seen come out with the auto pen issue, and especially surrounding the pardons, this is something that has an impact. It was not normal to see those kind of pardons coming out. And so, and then very much at the last minute and signed by an auto pen, it's important to know whether or not the president actually made those decisions at the time.
I mean, if nothing...
Did the president make those decisions at the time? Well, clearly, it doesn't seem like it. 23 hours ago, Oversight Committee posting this. Let's see what Ranking Member Garcia said about Biden after the debate. Should be no concern. President Biden sharp is focused.
Debate. Do you have concerns about Biden remaining on top of the ticket after last night?
No concerns. I mean, there should be no concern. I don't have concerns. I mean, I saw the president before the debate. What? The president is focused. He's detail oriented. President Biden, who I've been around numerous times just in this last year, is sharp. He's focused. He's bright.
You serious?
Yes, we can all agree that the debate was not his best night. Look, Joe Biden had a raspy throat last night. We all heard that. Who cares?
Was it a bad night for him, though?
I mean, look, obviously Joe Biden had a little bit of a sore throat. I understand that, he had a raspy voice, but like I've told folks, who cares?
Stop it. Get some help.
Yes, so the president may have had a minor cold. Yes, maybe the president's voice was a little scratchy. Who cares?
A nightmare. Literally a nightmare.
Maybe time to...
That was actually posted by the Oversight Committee. They're posting memes. Yeah, but it's not a laughing matter. They are clearly in a state of resistance against the truth. And the Democrats are doing it now. Even this resistance boot camp. We covered some of this last night. The deep state's putting together a network of fired bureaucrats to plot rebellions and strikes against the White House, and they're using old CIA tactics to do it. Listen.
Most effective.
Democrats say there needs to be bloodshed to get attention. So now they're building underground labs and putting their foot soldiers through boot camp.
I've started something called Resistance Lab. It's a training on really the documented most effective ways to counter Democratic backsliding, nonviolent resistance tactics to build that movement.
A couple of months ago, Mad Maxine Waters, no relation, said Republicans were training up in the hills, but it's Democrats who are working out in labs. Dozed USAID staff are building a network and plotting rebellions and nationwide strikes. Reports say they've been passing out old CIA pamphlets titled Simple Sabotage. The strategy is to harass and demoralize the enemy. Primetime went inside one of these resistance labs, and General Jayapal is whipping her army into shape.
Governments and institutions together do not save people from dictators. The thing that saves people from dictators is the people. It is large-scale mass movements of people. If you have the moral high ground and you act with dignity, then anger is incredibly compelling and people will join you.
We're getting reports that the Abrams tank is flanking in from the south.
You send the U.S. Marines into spaces they should not be. You send the National Guard in. You kidnap people off of the streets and pretend that's normal.
So the resistance is building, whether it's in the depositions or elsewhere. It's happening. Jayapal says anti-Trump Elon Musk protesters should be strike ready and street ready. Congressional progressives join us for Due Process Denied, a powerful conversation on the Trump administration's attack on immigrants and the ripple effects of civil rights. Jayapal has said she's the most inspired when she sees people obstructing ICE. Here's Senator Marsha Blackburn.
And Nate, Kellyanne, I have never seen anything like this. And you're right. The ballot box, Congress, the courts, and now they're resorting to this violence. You even have Jayapal on her congressional site having a lab, a resistance lab, wanting to train people how to resist ICE and government. And she has taken an oath to support the Constitution. So they're not willing to work through the system, which does not agree with their position on issues. So now they're going to resort to violence and attacks on ICE. You've got many members of Congress that are being swatted. They're getting bomb threats at their homes. They're getting threats of personal harm. And all of a sudden, it's all about violence and saying this, get shot, prepare to get shot. It's really...
If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. When a president's own doctor won't testify about his mental fitness, we've crossed into constitutional crisis territory. Dr. O'Connor spent years gaslighting America, signing fraudulent health reports while Biden stumbled through speeches and got lost on stage. Now he invokes the fifth because he knows the truth would destroy them all. Representative Byron Donalds nailed it. The cover-up is indefensible. Meanwhile, Democrats like Pramila Jayapal are calling for protesters to be strike-ready and street-ready while their president's brain melts down in real time. Their presidents. They're not governing. They are inciting chaos to distract from their own collapse. Even after Biden's debate disaster, Ranking Member Garcia claimed, sharp and focused. It's not politics. That's participation in a criminal conspiracy. So here's the question. Should covering up a president's mental incapacity be prosecuted as treason? Yes or no? And while you decide, why don't you go and check out our merch shop? It's linked down below. We have President Auto Pen t-shirts, Alligator Alcatraz. You can trigger a liberal today at shop.newsnetwork.com. We do have a super chat from Tom B420 laying out the cash. The loudest is the Dems' silence on the Epstein list. Isn't that strange? Haven't heard anything from the Dems on that at all. I wonder how many of them are on it. Thank you for that $5. We'll put that in the jar right away. Thank you, sir. Let's get to our trivia answer. You guys said it was A. And it was. Miranda versus Arizona, the landmark case, established that suspects must be informed of their Fifth Amendment rights. Okay, we got to move on to our next question. And right before our next topic, Title IX was enacted in what year to protect women's educational opportunities? 1968, 1972, 1975, or 1980? Another great question. I don't know, man. I do not know. I'm just going to throw a dart at the wall and say 1980. D. We'll see what you guys say. You can answer in the comments, chat, or poll. Let's get to our next topic of the evening. California just learned that biology isn't negotiable. Trump's Justice Department just dropped a $45 billion bomb on Gavin Newsom's woke empire for violating Title IX. What's the crime? Letting biological males steal championships, scholarships, and opportunities from our daughters. Attorney General Pam Bondi drew the line. Only women belong in women's sports, period. This isn't about tolerance or inclusion. It's about protecting the law that guarantees equal opportunities for females in education and athletics. Even Newsom once admitted it was unfair before he sold out to radical activists, and now California faces the largest Title IX penalty in history. The message is clear. If you erase women to appease the mob, you will pay. So stay with us. We've got all the details. And while California destroys women's sports, Chuck Norris is destroying aging myths at 84 years old. Now, I recently saw a video that he made, and I was shocked. He's still kicking butt, working out, and staying active with energy left over for his grandkids. He says he feels like he's in his 50s. What is his secret? Well, it's one simple change that revolutionized his health. His wife started doing it too. She feels 10 years younger, looks leaner, and has energy all day. And Chuck made a special video just for you explaining exactly what they discovered. It's not some Hollywood gimmick. It's real science about 3 things that sabotage our bodies as we age. So watch his method at chuckdefense.com/next or click the link below. At 84, Chuck has more energy than people half his age. So find out why at chuckdefense.com/next, linked below. Okay, this just in. Big lawsuit. California losing $45 billion over Title IX. If California is violating the rights of women, then it's not equal opportunities for women, and that violates Title IX.
Deputy Assistant Mailman, White House Deputy Assistant to the President, and Senior Policy Strategist. May, great to see you. May, you have some news about California Title IX and also some Harvard subpoenas, and we need to keep the pressure on Harvard. May, the floor is yours. Walk us through it.
Yeah, so today, this morning at 9 a.m., we dropped a major lawsuit against California that would result in California losing $45 billion. So it's funding for schools because California continues to violate Title IX. Remember, Title IX says that you can have access to federal money, but you have to agree to a few basic things. And one of those basic things is to not discriminate on the basis of sex. If California is violating the rights of women by forcing them to shower and change with men and also compete against men if they're going to play sports, if they're going to play female athletics, then that is not equal opportunities for women, and that violates Title IX. So California has been warned repeatedly that this is going to happen, and California is now going to get what it asks for. So that is our big lawsuit this morning.
Mailman, White House.
Reap the whirlwind, right? Oh, we just found out this, too, as well. This is from RT. They posted this. A journalist, Natasha Ray, who claimed that Macron's wife was born male, acquitted by a Paris court. That's according to the lawyer. Ray now intends to sue Brigitte for fraud during the trial. That is another, speaking of men and women's sports, this goes the opposite direction. But I thought I'd share that with you. Interesting side note. Here we have the Education Secretary McMahon on the DOJ lawsuit against California.
We investigated this. The Office of Civil Rights at the Department of Education investigated. We told Governor Newsom that we'd be investigating these violations. We found California to be in violation of Title IX. We turned it over to the Justice Department, and they announced this morning that they were filing suit against California. So, this is something that President Trump campaigned on. His promises made and promises kept. I think it's just it is just totally unfair to have men competing against women in sports, and also to share their intimate locker facilities, etc. And women fought hard for these rights, and it is the law, and the president means business with it. We investigated this.
Massive lawsuit. Gavin Newsom. Sorry, Gavin. Okay, here we have more from Pam Bondi and Linda McMahon. This is an official statement that they just made.
Federation. Over the past several weeks, the Department of Education has notified the Department of Education in California, as well as the California Interscholastic Federation, that they were in violation of Title IX. They were allowing men to compete in women's sports. Now, this is after years of their being in violation of Title IX. We informed them that if they did not change, that we were going to refer these cases to the Department of Justice, and we have done exactly that.
Thank you, Secretary McMahon, for all of your hard work. And today, the Department of Justice has filed a lawsuit against California Department of Education and the governing body for women's sports in California. We've made it very clear, only women in women's sports under Title IX. An example in California, a boy who was in track and field. He would have lost every race. Yet in women's sports, he won over 36 medals. Those medals should be returned to the women, as well as no boys will be allowed in women's locker rooms. No longer. We have sued Maine. We're in litigation with Minnesota. We've sent multiple letters. And if you do not comply, you're next. The Department of Education and the Department of Justice, we will protect girls in girls' sports.
But what about the girls on the Epstein list, Pam? Okay, so here we have, I thought this was interesting when Charlie Kirk went on Gavin Newsom's podcast. You know Gavin Newsom, he's about to run for president. He's gearing up. He's laying all the groundwork. He's going around the country, giving speeches, going to battleground states already. So this is just another one of his methods to try to reach across the aisle and plant some seeds into the conservative community using Charlie Kirk. I commend Charlie Kirk for going there and having a conversation with Newsom. I mean, we have to have conversations with people we disagree with. We have to. Okay, so we can try to have at least an understanding of where they're wrong. All right? And maybe during the course of that conversation, we can plant seeds our own. Well, let's hear this moment. Gavin Newsom said it himself about women, men in women's sports.
You as the governor should, so like you right now should come out and be like, you know what? The young man who's about to win the state championship in the long jump in female sports, that shouldn't happen. You as the governor should step out and say no.
No, and I appreciate,
but like, would you do something like that? Would you say no men in female sports?
Well, I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that. So that's easy to call out, the unfairness of that.
So like unfairness of that. Well, now he's getting sued. The Trump administration, DOJ, Deputy Department of Education, filed a lawsuit. Here we have some more about that debate from Kellen.
On June 26th, the U.S. Kellen Almeida reporting for Frontline. So big update to the ongoing dispute between the Trump administration's Department of Education, the DOJ, and California over Title IX violations. So quick recap. On June 26th, the U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights concluded that both the California Department of Education and CAF, the state's high school sports governing body. So quick recap. On June 26th, the U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights concluded that both the California Department of Education and CAF, the state's high school sports governing body, violated Title IX by allowing male athletes to compete in girls' sports. Rather than comply with the proposed resolution, California doubled down. The state rejected the federal findings and now claims that enforcing sex-based protections under Title IX would be discriminatory against trans-identified males. Today, Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon confirmed on X that the DOJ has officially filed a lawsuit against California.
Today, the United States Department of Justice filed suit against California for allowing boys to participate in girls' high school sports in violation of Title IX.
And I think we actually have the full statement from Harmeet. Let's go to that.
Of Justice filed suit. Hi, everyone. Today, the United States Department of Justice filed suit against California for allowing boys to participate in girls' high school sports in violation of Title IX, one of the important federal civil rights statutes that we administer here at the Department of Justice. This year alone, California is scheduled to receive over $44 billion in federal funding to support its education system, and yet California refuses to honor federal law that protects the rights of young women. And we can't stand for that here at the Department of Justice. It would be irresponsible to do so. We're so proud of all the young female athletes in California who are striving for opportunities and accomplishments and trophies, and it's their right to do so. So follow along as we pursue the enforcement of federal law against California in this important lawsuit. Hi, everyone.
Buckle up, Newsom. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. So the lawsuit changes everything. For years, radical activists hijacked Title IX, a law created to protect women, and weaponize it against women. They force our daughters to compete against males, share locker rooms with males, and lose scholarships to males. California led the insanity, and now they're paying the price. $45 billion in federal funding hangs in the balance because Gavin Newsom chose woke points over women's rights. The Trump administration just proved that they're serious about protecting female athletes. As Harmeet Dillon said, actions have consequences, and this is only the beginning. Every state pushing this agenda better lawyer up because Trump's DOJ is coming, and they're restoring sanity one lawsuit at a time. So here's my question. Should every state allowing males and female sports lose federal funding? Simple yes or no, sound off below, and show your support for common sense by grabbing some gear from the Next News shop. We got President Otto Penn, Alligator Alcatraz, American Badass, MAGA Avengers. Check it out. Trigger Liberal today at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Okay. All right. The loudest. Did I already do this one for Tom? Yeah, loudest stems. Oh, yes, I did. Okay. Thank you for that again, Tom, for that super chat. And let's see if we have going on here. Skies are boys and girls playing the video games together is fine, but sports are doing too far. Guys have better protection. Blessings, Patriots. Such great news in that segment, Gary. Thank you, Karen. Any state that's woke must never get another dime. Okay, let's go to our trivia answer. The answer was, in fact, B, 1972. I got it wrong. You guys got it right. (1972) Title IX became law to ensure equal opportunities for women in education and in sports. Moving to our next multiple choice question. Which 1978 UN treaty prohibits military weather modification after Vietnam War cloud seeding? A. SALT II, B. NMOD, C. the START Treaty, or D. the Geneva Protocol? I'm going to go NMOD, I think. Modification. I don't think SALT II or START or the Geneva Protocol. I'm going to say it was B. Yeah, that's my guess. You guys are saying it too. Right there. We're going to get the answer after this next topic. The CEO of Rainmaker just gave himself away. After deadly floods devastated Texas, Augustus Dorico went on national TV and repeated one word like a mantra. Unequivocally, he said it 12 times, insisting that their cloud seeding operations had nothing to do with the catastrophic flooding. Well, body language experts saw right through it, and then came the bombshell. Trump's EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin announced they'll release everything about geoengineering and contrails. Now, for decades, Americans looked up at the sky asking what those streaks really were. Now we're getting answers. Durham floods, Texas floods, weather chaos nationwide, all after admitted weather modification programs. They're not controlling climate change, they're controlling the weather, and people are dying, and the evidence is overwhelming. While they manipulate the weather above, you can protect the next generation below. Remember, freedom's never more than one generation from extinction, and that's why the Tuttle Twins created the most effective Liberty First content for kids. Their monthly magazine, seen it right here, it teaches children about economics, liberty, and responsibility through comics, activities, and real-world lessons. And right now, subscribe a loved one for just $56 per year. Yes, those dollars are seeds of liberty. You go to TuttleTwins.com/next. Don't let your child be indoctrinated by those who think government should control everything from weather to your thoughts. Teach them to think critically about power and freedom. The link is in the description. TuttleTwins.com/next. Arm your kids with the truth today. Okay, this is huge. Okay, I never thought I'd see this, but now we are. Trump's EPA Administrator, Lee Zeldin, announcing the EPA will now compile and release everything they know about geoengineering and contrails. Check this out.
In fact, concerned Americans have urgent and important questions about geoengineering and contrails. The American public deserves and expects honesty and transparency from their government when seeking answers. But for years, people who asked questions in good faith were dismissed, even vilified by the media and their own government. That era is over. The Trump EPA is committed to total transparency. As a result, I tasked my team at EPA to compile a list of everything we know about contrails and geoengineering for the purpose of releasing it to you now publicly. In other words, I want you to know everything I know about these topics and without any exception. Instead of simply dismissing these questions and concerns as baseless conspiracies, we're meeting them head on. We did the legwork, looked at the science, consulted agency experts, and pulled in relevant outside information to put these online resources together. Everything we know about contrails to solar geoengineering will be in there. That means anyone who reads through this information will know as much about these topics as I do as EPA Administrator. To anyone who's ever looked up to the streaks in the sky and asked, what the heck is going on? Or seen headlines about private actors and even governments looking to blot out the sun in the name of stopping global warming? We've endeavored to answer all of your questions at the links on your screen. In fact, EPA shares many of the same concerns when it comes to potential threats to human health and the environment, especially from solar geoengineering activities. The enthusiasm for experiments that would pump pollutants into the high atmosphere has set off alarm bells here at the Trump EPA. Prior to now, EPA has never been this proactive to raise awareness about concerns with geoengineering and to stop this activity from being scaled up. This is what it looks like when government actually listens to the will of the people and doesn't try to squash it. You can always trust this administration and this EPA to take your concerns seriously, answer your questions honestly, and carry out the will of voters with integrity.
Oh, wow. We are living in a new age. Okay, so let's go check out the Will Cain show for a minute here. Jesus Enrique Rosas, unequivocally. A. Dorico replies to whether Rainmaker contributed to intensifying Texas flooding.
All the families that. The question is whether or not Rainmaker, cloud seeding on July 2nd, contributed to storms that occurred on July 4th. Did it enhance? Did it intensify what we saw some 36 to 48 hours later?
Unequivocally, our cloud seeding operations on July 2nd did not impact the flooding that occurred later. And that said, my heart and prayers are still with all of the people of Texas and all the families that have been affected. It was a tragedy. But in cloud seeding on the 2nd, one, we are regulated by the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation, and we have what are called suspension criteria, where if there are National Weather Service flash flood warnings or severe storm warnings, then we cannot operate in those areas per the restrictions and regulations we have. Our meteorologists actually proactively suspended operations a day before the National Weather Service issued a flash flood warning. So we were ahead of the curve there. And then even so, the precipitation that we induced, right, like the very best operations can produce tens of millions of gallons of precipitation over hundreds of square miles. That is de minimis relative to the remnants of the tropical storm that came in and dumped trillions of gallons of precipitation.
So you were able to produce, in short, something like this much rain, less than a centimeter of rain, and the flood itself, the storms themselves, it filled up a 20-foot pond, an Olympic-sized pool, 20 inches of rain. Mm-hmm. And so your argument is, if anything, we contributed the tiniest bit. I want to end with one somewhat scientific but skeptical question that I think you're ready to answer. I've listened to hours and hours of your content and read about Rainmaker. And the question is the silver iodide that you put into the atmosphere localized to one cloud, capable of remaining in the air, and as a new storm system moves in, supercharging that storm system? Could that have happened in Texas?
So supercharging, no, absolutely not. Remaining in the atmosphere, no, not that either. When you seed the clouds themselves, when you disperse the silver iodide into it, and then it precipitates, that aerosol, that particulate precipitates down and out within the course of hours. Now, if you were to just disperse aerosol into open air, then it could persist longer. But one, we were seeding clouds rather than dispersing it just in the open atmosphere. And two, any amount that would have remained in the ensuing days and hours from our operation would have been so radically diffuse that it have been lower in concentration than just the background dust.
So it either produces rain within an hour or two, or it dissipates within, I've heard you say something like 12 to 20 hours, meaning some 36 to 48 hours once the storm moves into Texas, your silver iodide would no longer be part of the equation?
No, not at all.
All right. The question is...
Okay. So here we have more from the head of Rainmaker.
Very good. If you turn the Sahara Desert green, that actually would not be very good, because the dust from the Sahara that goes over the ocean, over the Amazon, results in a lot of the cloud condensation and then precipitation. So if you turn all that green and the dust stops getting kicked up, you might actually reduce the precipitation of the Amazon. So like when Rainmaker gets to the scale in a decade or so of like actively terraforming the planet, making it more lush and green and symbiotic than it ever has been before, we're going to have questions that we have to answer about like what the consequences will be globally. But I think that humans are pretty good at engineering solutions and building new technology and building new systems to make the world better. If you turn the Sahara Desert green,
yeah, dude. Thanks.
Well, how it works. I don't think that the unknown unknowns are that great. Like I said, we have 80 years of data on this stuff. Like we know pretty well how it works, and we haven't seen any of this sort of adverse consequence. I mean, at the very least, right? I don't think that the unknown.
Least. Oh my goodness. Let's keep going here. We got some massive flooding in Durham, North Carolina. Triggers ongoing water rescues. Flash flood warnings dominating the area. This 16 hours ago. Regions like Winston-Salem, Greensboro, and Raleigh also face severe conditions. Massive flooding. What is going on? Another one. Here is Western Lensman posting this with Bill Nye, the science guy. Of course. He blames fossil fuels.
It is you can't just float your way out of it.
Yeah.
It knocks everything over. Everybody knows you pick up a bucket of water, you know how heavy it is. Mm-hmm. And you get a lot of water going that fast. So what are we going to do about it is the ancient question, and it would be to stop burning fossil fuels. When you're in a hole, stop digging, and so on. But the fossil fuel industry has been very successful in getting organizations like the U.S. Congress to think that it's really not happening.
Well, and the first 6 months of the Trump administration, we've seen an end to some of the federal efforts on not just fossil fuel, but other efforts that had been in place government-wide to promote alternative energy.
Yes, you can't.
Yeah. Oh my God, Bill Nye, not even a scientist. Okay, what is this here? The weather modification CEO admits cloud seeding operations conducted in Hill County 2 days before, but Augustus Dorco Rainmaker claims the release of silver iodide into the atmosphere did not cause the floods. He says 2 cloud seeds would have dissipated after a few hours. Here we have North Carolina, Pittsburgh. Oh my God. More scenes from Durham 18 hours ago. Unbelievable. Cars submerged. I mean, look at that. Look at that. Speaking of climate change, CNN admits the American people aren't concerned about it.
Activists are Americans afraid of climate change? And the answer is Americans aren't afraid of climate change. Climate activists have not successfully made the case to the American people. I want you to take a look here. Greatly worried about climate change. We have data going all the way back since 1989. Look at that. It was 35%. 2000, 40%. 2020, 46%. And 2025, 40%, which is the exact same percentage as back in 2000. Despite all of these horrible weather events, the percentage of Americans who are greatly worried about climate change has stayed pretty gosh darn consistent, which kind of boggles the mind a little bit. Granted, everything that we see on our television screens, our computer screens, the hurricanes, tornadoes, the flooding, but yet greatly worried about climate change, 40% in 2025, the exact same percentage as back in 2000. Are Americans afraid?
Yeah, because Americans don't believe it. That's why. Here's more from the CEO of Rainmaker, admits they're playing God and thinks it's their duty.
Please address, people can listen to longer form interviews that you have done about some of the safety and research that you've done on what you use to cloud seed. Now, I want you to please address a larger question, which is one that is somewhat broad and perhaps even religious, but are you playing God? Are you messing with things that you shouldn't be messing with when it comes to the weather?
I get this question all the time, and I totally think it makes sense to ask it. My intention is to serve God. I think that in Genesis 1:26 through 28, and then throughout the Psalms and the rest of the Bible, God tells us to take dominion over and steward creation, both for our sake, creation's itself, and then to honor him. And so if there are droughts and we have the tools to mitigate the damage done by them for our sake and for nature itself, then we should deploy those for the sake of tending to and stewarding the world. And if we weren't to do that, if we were to ban cloud seeding wholesale, despite knowing that it's safe, despite knowing it could help alleviate these problems, we'd be abdicating our God-given responsibility to be stewards of the world.
Okay, let's address what people can listen to.
Deep answer. Holy cow. So, if you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. It's not conspiracy theory, it's conspiracy fact. Rainmaker CEO admits they're seeding clouds while Texas drowns. Body language experts catch him lying on national television. The EPA confirms they'll expose everything about weather modification. Meanwhile, radical climate activists blame fossil fuels while ignoring the planes literally spraying chemicals into our atmosphere. CNN's own poll shows Americans aren't buying climate change narrative anymore because they see the real manipulation happening right above their heads. Pirate Wires revealed that Rainmaker's founder thinks he has a divine mission to control the weather. It's not science, that is playing God with deadly consequences. Kerr County buried their dead while the CEO claims innocence. Durham, Winston-Salem, Greensboro, all flooding after atmospheric interference. So my question, should weather modification programs be banned as weapons of war? Tell me yes or no. And support real journalism by checking out our merch shop. We're exposing what they are spraying. You can trigger a liberal with an Alligator Alcatraz shirt or President Otto Penn shirt at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Okay. No new super chats. We are at $40 today. Yay. Okay, let's see what the answer was to our question. You guys said it was B, NMOD. Yes, that was it. That's what I believe, too. The Environmental Modification Convention banned military weather warfare after Operation Popeye in Vietnam. So I'd love to sit and hang out, but I have to go and meet with the governor of Arkansas. So I got to get ready. But the news never stops. We just exposed 5 massive stories the establishment desperately wanted buried. So let's recap what we've learned today on the Raw feed. Jeffrey Epstein wasn't a lone predator. He was a CIA asset running a blackmail operation with over 1,000 victims. The FBI has a client list, his black book, and surveillance footage from every room. Yet not one powerful person has faced justice. Laura Loomer showed us the receipts. Epstein cut a deal with the feds back in 2008, and it goes deeper than anyone imagined. The coup against President Trump is finally unraveling. James Comey under criminal investigation. Brennan and Clapper, well, they are next. These men weaponize our intelligence agencies to overthrow a duly elected president. And the mythical 17 agencies turned out to be 3 professional liars who committed treason with smiles on their faces. General Flynn says their names should be etched in history as traitors, and he's absolutely right. And Biden's personal physician, Dr. Kevin O'Connor, just destroyed what was left of his administration's credibility by pleading the Fifth. The man who certified Biden as mentally fit won't answer questions under oath, and that silence speaks louder than any testimony could. The cover-up is blown wide open, and Democrats are building resistance labs instead of addressing their president's obvious decline. And California just got hit, a $45 billion reality check for destroying women's sports. Trump's DOJ drew a line in the sand. Biology matters, and Title IX matters means what it meant, means what it said. Only women belong in women's sports, period. Gavin Newsom sold out our daughters for woke points, and now he's paying the price, literally. And this is only the beginning of restoring sanity to America. And perhaps most disturbing, weather modification is not theory anymore. It's admitted fact. Rainmaker's CEO couldn't hide his guilt on national television while Texas flood victims were still being counted. Trump's EPA promises to expose everything about geoengineering and contrails. For years, they called us crazy for questioning the skies. Now the federal government is confirming our suspicions. So to everyone who sent in super chats and Rumble rants today, thank you for keeping independent media alive. Your support means we can keep exposing these stories without corporate censorship or government control. So tell a friend about the Raw feed. Share the show with someone who needs to hear the truth. Hit up our merch shop, shop.nextnewsnetwork.com, and wear your support proudly. We've got designs that trigger the establishment and support the mission. The deep state thought they could operate in darkness forever. They thought that we'd never connect the dots. Well, they thought wrong. The truth is emerging, justice is coming, and nothing can stop what's been set in motion. Thank you for joining the Raw feed. Keep questioning everything, keep demanding answers, and keep fighting for truth. We'll see you all on the next show. This is Gary Franchi signing off. Stay vigilant, Patriots.